This is a very powerful photographer's tool in our pocket. The iPhone 17 Pro, Pro Max, even the 16 series, even the Air. But when it comes to, let's say, long exposure, you can't necessarily do that with the native iPhone app. That's where ReeFlex comes into play with ReeXpose and ReeHeld, two apps. One is handheld, one requires a tripod that will give you some amazing images. Let's talk about it. Before we kick things off, full disclosure, this video is brought to you by ReeFlex, but these are my thoughts and my thoughts only on the app. I've been using their products over the past couple months, from their lenses, which I'll be doing a separate video on, also these apps and other apps that they have for the iOS system, they're absolutely fantastic. And especially when it comes to long exposure, which I'm going to show you in just a second, this really opens up a lot of potential with the iPhone that in some ways will rival some professional cameras out there, but it's this in your pocket. So with that, let's talk about the accessories, we'll talk about the apps, and we'll talk about the experience. Let's jump into it right now. First, we're going to talk about the ReeHeld app, which is a handheld long exposure app. Now, you cannot do light trails with this like you can on the ReeXpose app. So if you want to capture, let's say, traffic moving or stars in the sky, it's not designed for that. It's designed to sort of reduce the motion or give more blur to the water, give it more of that glassy look, the clouds with a little bit of motion. Let's say there's a lot of people in a crowd and you want to reduce the amount of people that you can see in an image. That's what it's for. Now, it'll produce JPEGs and the images are actually really good. So let's jump into that first here. And actually you can go from 1 second up to 30 seconds. And you have a timer on here. So you have a 3-second timer just to make sure that you're steady. This is what a 1 second image looks like. It's decent. You're not going to see as much detail in the water and the clouds look almost the same. But when we go to 30 seconds, that's where things get interesting here. Let me just brighten this up here because of our exposure here in Singapore. So now comes the sun. This is my luck here. Let's go to 30 seconds. Handheld, mind you. That's where this app has some magic on this one. Now there's a timer that goes around the shutter icon that lets you know. You can actually see the image blurring as it's going through this. Now, obviously you can use 3 different cameras as I'm doing this. You can do wide, ultra wide, or telephoto. I've got it on wide here because that way you get a sense of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, the 3 towers there, the water in front. We've got the Apple Store there as well. Kind of goes hand in hand because we're using an iPhone, right? And this is all handheld. Taking a moment for the image to process. And there you have it. Sharp, and you have no detail in the water. It looks like it's glass. The clouds have a very nice sort of painter-esque look to it. It's very, very beautiful. And that's what this app does really well. I mean, also you can use it in crowds. Let's say you're in a street area or something like that and you don't want a lot of people in that shot. You can do a long exposure, and as people are walking, they're going to sort of disappear, and it maintains the detail of the scenario that you're at, which is really cool. So this is essentially what ReeHeld does. Now, you obviously can play around with the different seconds to see how much blur you want to your image or not, and that's where it becomes a bit more fun with that. But I'll do one more shot here of the skyscrapers behind me, and you get a sense of what that looks like. 30-second exposure with these skyscrapers and the clouds behind that. Get that nice motion blur. I'm doing this all handheld. You're watching me as I'm doing this. So I'm going to take it off the timer. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I don't know what ReeFlex is doing with the algorithm for a stabilization, man, but it is pretty friggin' amazing what they're doing. You can see the clouds blurring up in the background. It's sort of seeing real time what the image does. And there you have it. That's how good this looks. Unbelievable. And the building is sharp. When we go to ReeXpose, you don't get that kind of stabilization, but you get a lot more flexibility and customization to the app, and you get 12-bit DNG files to play with. If you can get light trails with that, which I'll show you, can't do it in daytime right here, but I'll show you some samples that I took at nighttime with it. But this requires a tripod or very, very steady hands, but I highly recommend the tripod. So let's jump into that right now. With this app, there are a lot more controls. So you have manual focus, you have ISO, shutter speed, and then obviously you can choose if you want clouds or stars, which is an icon on each of the side. The stars icon is going to be for light trails. The clouds is going to be for more like motion blur, things like that, or clouds that we have in the sky. So you have to take that into consideration when you're doing this, is that there's these settings you have to play around with. And especially at nighttime and with traffic lights and building lights, you may have to play around with the ISO a little bit more just to kind of figure out exactly what that optimal setting is to capture that shot that you want. I found it to be a bit hit and miss for me. It took me a few tries, but again, that's part of the process with anything. Even if you have a professional camera, it'll be the same scenario. You will take a number of shots where you just miss the mark until you finally get those right settings. And then when you do, it's golden. And this produces fantastic work. I mean, the great thing about this is let's say you're going to the Northern Lights or you're going you know, on a trip somewhere and you want to capture the beautiful stars in the sky where there's no light pollution like we have here in Singapore, or mountainous ranges and things like that, you may be able to leave your professional camera at home. If you're just like a hobbyist, you're like, look, I just want to use my smartphone and capture really good images, because these phones are extremely powerful nowadays. And what Apple's put inside this phone in terms of the processing power, the image quality, paired with apps like this, it's pretty friggin' amazing. All right, so we just took a look at the image after 1 minute, and you are getting a very similar result as you got with the ReeHeld app, but it's a 12-bit DNG file. So this gives you a lot more flexibility if you want to edit your image, you know, play around with the colors, the post-processing, versus the ReeHeld, which is good, but it's designed for like a light color grade or just something right out of camera just to post on social media. But both of them do a fantastic job. All right, guys, so what are things I wish were improved on these apps? You know, for the ReeHeld app, I think it's great, but it doesn't have light trails or any sort of like star trails or anything else like that, which I wish it did. And so it does make the app a little bit limiting, and I'm not too sure why REEFLEX couldn't add that in. Maybe they can in a future firmware update, but that'd be awesome to have that, because, you know, with the ReeXpose app, you can do that, but you need a tripod because the stabilization's turned off. I think it's because it's using DNG files or whatever have you. And so it does make it a little bit more challenging, because you can't always carry this thing around, even though it's small, compact, you know, it doesn't make it the easiest thing, right? But if they could add that into the ReeHeld app, that would be awesome. With the ReeXpose app, here's the thing with that. I think that it is a solid app, of course. It's very, very powerful. I mean, there is a bit of a learning curve, and you need a tripod for most of it. So that does have some limitations, which brings me to this. I kind of wish REEFLEX would make one app that has both of these features of ReeHeld and ReeXpose in one, like one ultimate long exposure app. If they could do that, I think they'd be onto something really, really cool. But I mean, that's just me. Look at this kit. It's so compact, and this is so well made. I know they're accessories. It just goes to show how detailed and the thought process behind REEFLEX to try to make the best accessories for smartphone photography they can. And I think they've done it with this so far, man. I'm really, really happy. And the lenses are, wow. We'll talk about that in a separate video. Anyway, guys, if you like this, like, subscribe. Thank you for the support, and I'll chat to you all very, very soon. Bye.